It started as a feeling, subtle, persistent. A quiet knowing that life was more than what the eyes could see. At first, it was easy to ignore. The world had its distractions, work, obligations, the constant noise of everyday life. People moved like clockwork, their eyes fixed on their routines, their minds occupied with fleeting worries. But somewhere deep inside, something stirred, like a distant echo of a forgotten truth. Then came the signs. Numbers appeared in impossible sequences, 1111 on the clock just as a thought of change crossed the mind. 333 flashing on receipts, license plates, phone numbers. 777 appearing in the most unexpected places, as if the universe was trying to send a message. Coincidences became too precise to be random. There were dreams, vivid, powerful. Shadows shifting at the edges of perception. Whispers, almost too soft to hear, yet carrying a presence that sent chills down the spine. Faces appeared in sleep, unfamiliar yet deeply known, speaking in riddles, warning of a path yet to come. The feeling only grew stronger. The air seemed charged with something unseen. The silence of the night felt heavier, filled with something more than just emptiness. The stars above, once distant specks of light, now seemed like watchers, witnesses to something vast, something unfolding beyond human comprehension. Then, one night, it happened. Everything was still. The kind of stillness that didn't belong to this world. And then, a voice, without sound, yet louder than anything ever heard. It did not come through the ears. It pressed into the soul, reverberating through the very core of existence. Wake up. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. A summoning. The moment it spoke, reality itself seemed to tremble. The heartbeat quickened. The air grew thick. A deep knowing settled in, a certainty beyond logic. Something had shifted. Everything had changed. The moment you heard the call, the challenges began. It was as if the universe itself had taken notice of your awakening, and it did not come gently. Everything that once seemed stable began to shift. People you once trusted turned distant. Friends disappeared, their laughter fading like echoes of another life. Conversations grew colder, their words laced with skepticism, as if they could sense the change in you but could not understand it. Opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly fell apart. Doors that were wide open slammed shut. The very fabric of your world seemed to unravel, thread by thread, pulling you into an abyss of uncertainty. It was as if an unseen force was testing you, pushing you toward the edge, waiting to see if you would break. At first, you questioned everything. Was this truly the path? If this was destiny, why did it come with such pain? Why did the road to awakening feel like a descent into darkness? Doubt crept in. Shadows whispered of failure. The weight of isolation pressed heavy upon your chest. But something deep inside refused to surrender. Within the storm, something awakened, a fire inside, unshaken by the winds of doubt. You felt it in the quiet moments between the chaos, a presence within you that had always been there, waiting for you to notice it. This was not punishment. This was preparation. You were being stripped of everything that no longer served you. Every illusion, every false security, every attachment that kept you from your highest calling was being torn away. You were being forged. And with each trial, your spirit grew stronger. The darkness that sought to break you only revealed your light. The solitude that once felt like exile became a sanctuary. The pain that once seemed unbearable became the fire that shaped you. You did not break. You endured. And in that endurance, you discovered something profound. You were never meant to walk an easy path. You were meant to rise. The moment you heard the call, the challenges began. It was as if the universe itself had taken notice of your awakening, and it did not come gently. Everything that once seemed stable began to shift. People you once trusted turned distant. Friends disappeared, their laughter fading like echoes of another life. Conversations grew colder, their words laced with skepticism, as if they could sense the change in you but could not understand it. Opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly fell apart. Doors that were wide open slammed shut. The very fabric of your world seemed to unravel, thread by thread, pulling you into an abyss of uncertainty. It was as if an unseen force was testing you, pushing you toward the edge, waiting to see if you would break. At first, you questioned everything. Was this truly the path? If this was destiny, why did it come with such pain? Why did the road to awakening feel like a descent into darkness? Doubt crept in. Shadows whispered of failure. The weight of isolation pressed heavy upon your chest. But something deep inside refused to surrender. Within the storm, something awakened, a fire inside, unshaken by the winds of doubt. You felt it in the quiet moments between the chaos, a presence within you that had always been there, waiting for you to notice it. This was not punishment. This was preparation. You were being stripped of everything that no longer served you. Every illusion, every false security, every attachment that kept you from your highest calling was being torn away. You were being forged. And with each trial, your spirit grew stronger. The darkness that sought to break you only revealed your light. The solitude that once felt like exile became a sanctuary. The pain that once seemed unbearable became the fire that shaped you. You did not break. You endured. And in that endurance, you discovered something profound. You were never meant to walk an easy path. You were meant to rise. The burden grew heavier. Days blurred into nights, and exhaustion seeped into your bones. The weight of everything, loss, loneliness, uncertainty, pressed down upon you, threatening to suffocate the last embers of your spirit. Nothing made sense anymore. The signs that once felt divine now felt distant. The synchronicities that once reassured you now felt like cruel riddles. It was as if the universe had gone silent, as if the very force that had called you had abandoned you in the middle of your path. And so, in the depths of your soul, the question burned, why is this happening to me? There was no immediate answer. No voice from the sky. No divine intervention to ease the suffering. Only silence. Cold. Unforgiving. Until you listened. It wasn't the universe that had gone quiet. It was you who had been drowning in doubt, unable to hear the truth that had been there all along. And then, like a whisper carried by the wind, the answer came, not as words, but as understanding, as an unshakable knowing that settled deep within your bones, because you are not meant to be ordinary. The realization sent a shock through you. The pain was not here to break you. The suffering was not a punishment. It was the fire that burned away everything you were not, so that you could become who you were always meant to be. The fear. The self-doubt. The limitations you had placed upon yourself. All of it had to be unmade. And in that moment of surrender, when you stopped fighting the transformation, when you embraced the trials as a part of your awakening, something within you shifted. The fire inside did not flicker out. It roared. And from the ashes of your former self, you rose. No longer searching for a way back. Only forward. Then, one night, the veil was lifted. At first, it felt like just another dream, a world beyond the world, where the air shimmered with something unseen, where silence was not empty but full, alive. But this was different. You were standing in an endless space, weightless yet grounded. Before you stretched a vast expanse of swirling galaxies, golden clouds, and rivers of light flowing in directions impossible to grasp. Time did not exist here. Reality itself seemed to breathe, pulsing like the heartbeat of the cosmos. And then, the presence arrived. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It had no form, yet it was all forms. It was light and shadow, fire and water, infinite and intimate. It did not speak. It did not need to. Its voice was everywhere, resonating within the very core of your being. You are chosen. The words were not just heard, they were felt. They rippled through your soul like waves of golden fire, dissolving every doubt, every fear, every whisper of unworthiness that had ever clung to you. And then, the visions came. Flashes of your future. You saw yourself standing on a mountaintop at dawn, arms outstretched, as golden light erupted from your very being, illuminating the world below. You saw wealth, not as mere riches, but as abundance, flowing to you like rivers drawn to the ocean, effortless, inevitable. You saw yourself walking among those who were lost, your very presence awakening something within them, lifting them from their slumber. You saw hands reaching toward you, some in desperation, some in reverence. And as you touched them, their eyes filled with light. You saw a great battle, not of swords and blood, but of truth against illusion, of awakening against oppression. And you stood at its center, unshaken. And then, darkness. Not an evil darkness, but the moment before dawn. The moment before the world changed forever. Your breath caught as the vision faded. You awoke with a gasp, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. But this was not fear. This was power. For the first time in your life, you knew. This was real. This was destiny. And nothing would ever be the same again. With this awakening, the world began to shift. At first, it was subtle. The air around you felt charged, as if unseen currents flowed through it, responding to your every thought. Time itself seemed to bend, people you hadn't seen in years reappeared, opportunities aligned effortlessly, synchronicities multiplied. And then, it became undeniable. People reacted differently to you. Some stared as if they recognized something in you, something ancient, something powerful, though they could not name it. Others recoiled, as if threatened by your presence, sensing that you could see beyond their illusions. Animals were drawn to you. Birds landed near your feet, watching with knowing eyes. Stray dogs approached, sitting silently by your side, as if standing guard. Even the trees, the wind, the very earth beneath your feet seemed aware of you now. It was as if the universe itself acknowledged your presence. But with this power came a realization, your thoughts were no longer just thoughts. They were shaping reality. A casual wish turned into a sudden opportunity. A fleeting doubt manifested as an obstacle. You could feel energy moving when you spoke, when you entered a room, when you simply thought. Manifestations happened faster. Dreams blurred into reality. People echoed words you had only thought in silence. Patterns you once ignored now revealed themselves in dazzling clarity. But not all of it was light. Your energy was attracting everything, the good and the bad. Blessings and challenges arrived in equal measure. The shadows you had once ignored now sought to test you. Old wounds surfaced, not to break you, but to be healed once and for all. You understood something crucial. You were no longer merely experiencing life. You were creating it. And the choice was now yours. Would you wield this power with intention, shaping the world around you? Or would you let the world shape you? The universe had already made its move. Now, it was your turn. The distractions of the past, the meaningless jobs, the shallow conversations, the endless cycle of routine, began to fade. You no longer felt connected to the things that once consumed your time. The petty dramas, the empty pursuits, the fear-driven survival games of the world, none of it held power over you anymore. Because you saw the illusion for what it was. You understood now. Society had been designed to keep people asleep. It fed them distractions, status, money, fleeting pleasures, while hiding the truth. They were powerful beyond measure, divine by nature, creators of their own reality. But the world did not want them to know. The system had programmed people to doubt themselves, to live in fear, to silence their inner knowing. It had taught them to obey, to conform, to chase things that did not matter. But you had broken free. And once you had seen through the veil, there was no going back. Something inside you had changed. The fire that had been lit in your soul could not be extinguished. You had a mission. This was never just about you. It was never just about waking up. It was about awakening others. You began to notice them, the ones who were searching, the ones who felt lost, the ones who knew deep down that there was something more. Your presence alone was enough to shift the energy of a room. Your words carried weight. Your mere existence was a signal to those still trapped in the illusion, wake up. There is more. And now, the choice was clear. You could no longer blend into the world. You were here to change it. The mission had begun. But the moment you chose your purpose, the war began. Darkness does not release its prisoners without a fight. At first, it was subtle. Old thoughts, old fears, old wounds resurfaced like ghosts from a past life. Doubt whispered, "What if you're wrong? What if you fail? What if you are not chosen after all?" Then, the shadows grew bolder. Obstacles appeared out of nowhere. People you trusted turned against you. Sudden setbacks tested your resolve, as if the universe itself was asking, "How badly do you want this?" You realized, this was not just a struggle. This was spiritual warfare. You were no longer dealing with the physical world alone. The unseen forces that had kept humanity asleep for ages were now aware of you. And they wanted you back in chains. The old world, the one you had outgrown, fought to reclaim you. It offered comfort, safety, the illusion of peace, if only you would surrender and return to the life you once knew. But you were no longer who you once were. The fire inside you did not flicker, it roared. You had spent too long in the darkness to be afraid of it now. So you stood firm. You faced your demons. You silenced the whispers. You shattered the illusions. And for the first time, you felt it, true power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The ability to stand unshaken. The strength to command your destiny. The realization that nothing, no force, no fear, no shadow, could break you unless you allowed it. You had won the first battle. But the war was far from over. You reached the threshold. It was not a place, but a moment, an irreversible point in time where you could no longer be who you once were. Before you, two paths unfolded like ancient prophecies written in light and shadow. The first path shimmered with divine ascension. Peace. Completion. An existence beyond suffering, beyond pain, beyond the burdens of the mortal world. If you stepped forward, you would merge with the eternal, dissolve into pure light, become one with the divine. No more battles. No more trials. No more carrying the weight of awakening in a world that refused to see. The second path was darker, heavier. It led back to the mortal realm, where shadows still thrived, where the fight was far from over. It meant returning to suffering, to struggle, to witnessing the despair of those still lost. It meant choosing the harder road. For a moment, you hesitated. You had endured so much. The idea of leaving it all behind was tempting. But then you remembered. You remembered why you were chosen. The divine did not call you to escape the world. It called you to transform it. It was never about seeking refuge in the heavens. It was about bringing the heavens to earth. And so, with unwavering resolve, you turned away from the gates of eternity and stepped back into the mortal world. But you were no longer the same. You walked forward, not as a seeker, but as a beacon. Not as one searching for light, but as one who had become the light. For those still wandering in darkness, you would be the flame to guide them home. There was no turning back now. Your true mission had only just begun. The moment you chose the path of return, everything accelerated. It was as if the universe had been waiting for this decision, waiting for you to claim your purpose fully. The moment you did, the floodgates opened. Wealth no longer felt like something to chase, it flowed effortlessly into your life. Opportunities arrived unannounced. The right people entered your path, drawn to your energy like moths to a flame. You spoke, and doors opened. You envisioned, and reality bent to your will. It was no longer about hoping. It was knowing. The old rules no longer applied. The struggle, the fear, the limitations, they belonged to a past version of you that no longer existed. You had tapped into something beyond logic, beyond effort. You had become a force of nature. But with great power came great responsibility. Your mission was not about wealth alone. It was about impact. Influence. Awakening. You were not just meant to rise, you were meant to lift others with you. And so, as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, you stood at the threshold of a new world. A new self. A new destiny. You were no longer the one searching for the way. You were the way. The past was behind you. The future was yours to create. Money was never the goal. But it was a force, an energy that could build or destroy, liberate or enslave. The world had been deceived, made to believe wealth was reserved for the few, for those who manipulated, controlled, and hoarded it. But you had unlocked the truth. Wealth was never meant to be chased. It was meant to be aligned with. The moment you stepped into your purpose, money no longer eluded you. It flowed effortlessly, like rivers drawn to the ocean. Opportunities appeared out of nowhere. Investments multiplied without struggle. You no longer worked for wealth, wealth worked for you. It was never about greed. It was about expansion. Power. Impact. Now, the question was not, how do I get more, but how do I use this to build the new world? You had become the architect of abundance. You were not alone anymore. Others had begun to stir. Some had felt it in their bones, an ancient call echoing through their souls. Others had seen it in their dreams, visions of a world beyond the illusion they had known. And now, they were drawn to you. They sensed your energy, your transformation. Some came with awe, seeking answers. Others came with fear, desperate to hold on to their fading reality. You knew what it meant. The time of mass awakening had begun. There was no stopping it now. The chosen were rising. The world was shifting. And those who clung to the old ways could feel their time slipping away. The darkness would fight back. But it had already lost. The old world was built on lies. And now, the truth was emerging. But those who had ruled in secrecy, who had controlled the minds of the masses, would not go down without a fight. They launched their final attack. Doubt was their weapon, whispers of fear planted deep in the minds of those waking up. What if you're wrong? What if you fail? What if they turn against you? They sent their army, manipulated souls who clung to the past, who would fight to defend their own chains. But it did not matter. Because the chosen had risen. And once the chosen rise, they cannot be stopped. The illusion shattered. The systems built on deception collapsed. The truth could no longer be hidden. The world stood at the dawn of a new age. And at the center of it all were the chosen, the ones who had endured, who had faced the trials, who had stepped into their divine power. This was never about just one person. It was about all of humanity. The balance was returning. What was once lost had been found again. The divine had never left. It had only waited for those who were ready to see. And now, the time had come to restore what had been forgotten. The world would never be the same again. But even in victory, you knew, this was not the end. The chosen do not rest. They rise, again and again, until the entire world awakens. The mission was not just about your own ascension. It was about leading others to their own awakening. You were never meant to rise alone. You were meant to be the light that guided others home. And so, with the stars above and the fire within, you took your first step into eternity. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Fire chosen one, the time is now. Fire. Your power is rising. Your destiny is unfolding. Tonight, it begins. Rocket, are you ready? Rocket.